I told you, Nana Addo cannot rule this country in 2016. I told you, don't give this country to NPP. You refused. Now we are all in the same soup.
Ebusian for me ma money na kwaba. Say muhu mi achakakra e was live. I think say for this whole week, I've not really been active. Yet say me home family kra me yare pa, I just had to take time off my busy social media schedules to rest, all work and no play, all work and no rest. Jaku diagra will be break it down. That's the main reason here the whole week in Moho. Me no nya say bia bibinti na emom. Me home family ohwe mani mu crowd mu say yes. Me home family crowd monfa eno nche me. But send ye bia if free next week I call there I'll bounce back. Send ye bia if free next week there. Especially from the 1st of November, send ye bia no. We are going to bounce back to Kalen Jandam. We are going to bounce back to our usual live programs. Intino, Mesre, Monshan also. Medamuina Mase. Rita Nak TV show. Thank you so much, Rita. Medasi Bibri. Monshe, Namon like is an Jumedi. A bit me acronym. It's as simple as that. Megusu a me take medical rest, Medam Pemua Naja. The way I most often say dampemua we go through social media near Minam social media no so I'm going to say Ama McBrown, yes na worry be good, yes wine, yes Nikno no wafan the chi na ujano na dien yes na nama crampo no when ye chen bema no and one ye ni butum sika e de kwaye bema ni ho ade ani sensem bebre. In fact na me hu say Ghana youth ni nyina no suddenly no ase ye refi Ekufuado Jimmy ayekoso ye refi Ghana man na ye say no ye refi Kennedy Monkwasi asemu a omudi Ghana ye refi ba omia Jimmy ni minua ensemhunu ene emmo asemu ayekoso Ghana. Suddenly no Ghana youth refi ena dodo na etu akodi na ma issue na chi na obefa baby na bloggers yes na ma yes na ma yes na ma yes na ma Ghana youth Muntie mi ye. Sebi yo. Se Nanama akwa warrior na segua. Nanama is not the only person wakwa warrior egu. Muntie ha. Nanama is not the only person wakwa warrior egu. Warrior egu de bia. And that since ya ka se monko kiyeme ene eme moni ade. Warrior egu crampo no. E doso che omo aye worry. What ya see pa? Enti no se Nanama akwa warrior na se anye ya. This thing should not become a national topic whereby you forget about the most pressing issues and munamo sorry and Nanama Masa. Me say you to no moka who be na Ghana say no. I keep telling you this. Sebu you to no moka who be na Ghana say no because you hardly focus on most important things. Abribia and somewhere who here and somewhere emfa hwe mbremo and somewhere add value bia and somewhere enya hwe and enya ba pena bloggers afa ho san kwan obekọ onya bo na number deep obekọ ye say 1k 1.2 2k na mugusu na mo hwe na mo hye na mugusu na mo hwe na mo hye na nama warrior it doesn't put food on your table. Na nama warrior eguo it doesn't solve your problem. Na nama warrior no eguo it wouldn't solve the inflation. Ekufuado na aton man Ekufuado na ejina simpie so ka kire mo se obepa mwacho obekoso apamacho asre tumi no enya mo nche na wo tumi no enya mo nche na wo mekoso asre kosi se mo di tumi no be sha mensa ena mo di tumi ni sha mensa almost 8 years ni. Ask yourself e de ba de na wo ye boa e de ba de na o ye de boa the Ghanaian economy e de ba de na o making sure say o ye to uplift your lives. Eno de mon ka ho asem mo sorry a ene yesi Nanama ena na yesi Nanama afahin eno fahin kosia ene yesi Nanama warrior no eye wodan e de na be ye wo Nanama se be ma no oso achen no Nanama enyi chen no emfa ho it doesn't solve any part of your problem. Nanama se be ma no so fa na chio se wadada no so ye ne den yo emfa ho it wouldn't solve any problem in Ghana. Me say next year you guys are going to vote. And no one say mun hase anwen. Say Ekufuado ye the 8 good years asha nensa. next year yen Ghana for yesa koto aba e de ba ade na Akufo-Addo aya sabio yen hwe so ema na ban in breaking the 8. This should be the discussion on social media. Say monwe mabrabo hu to monwe Ghana man hu to Akufo-Addo Jimmy na ye ka ho asempe na adeke tuwa bi abefem na Ghana fo nyina ya divert your attention. Nana ma eye ba ye ti mo hwe social media nyina Kennedy Jimmy na bebre na jai ho asemuka. Na mo sorry anopa ewia enwumre nanama and they say nanama and they say nanama what has she done and so what na wari egu and so what ada hwe crab no minia nanama akwaware mo a mo hwe me most of you crab be ma crab on sebo peda and this is the honest truth anya hwe crab no McBrown there wakwaware it is wakona say anya ya she should move on but ni aye koso crab here rumors nanama na ma bonte meka say sebi o Sabi on a bear manager. Near cost was social media moody and chase once na moody at Chamoto in no, they are all rumors. How does it fix the Ghanaian economy? Kennedy Ejina Ghana ha Ekachere Asante Force, Samochi in Tafua, kill them, Samochi Nordness, I kill them, Samochi Voltarians, I kill them. This should be the topic of the day.
When you are Asante Kenny, only well to about maybe I will not pop what is him because probably needs to don't have to register minor. We have to register minor. So that's not everyone. We have to encounter what accepting regime will be there. And for serious, and what accepting regime will be there. Okay? I declare war in this country.
Akufo-Addo are buying a borrow over 700 billion. Nothing to show for. This should be the topic of the day. When you ask about the Beyonce, yeah, sorry, now sabi you. Yeah, can't watch them. We must hammer on these issues. Voltarians for the in so far or mono, Akufo-Addo kohwa osako di omuatem ekachromo say omuan to aba amanitino. He shouldn't have been there. This should be the topic. Say amenemo say adesemo Ghana government asset chasika 20 million cedis eba bedino kwase omo de kwa water region akobua omo. This should be the topic of the day. Say ayeka say catapult catapult. For the past 8 years in Akufo-Addo intimacy and also omo penifo abosumi biano ye tria omoka. This should be the topic of the day. Catapult no ababa ye spiritual port. This should be the topic of the day. Listen. Muntie Jamaica chamudi you. Cathedral ye bugu ye ebu judges adangu ye sorry esi cathedrals and say ye si cathedral amamo almost 8 years in cathedral na omuntminsi ye sika no so a omwadi over $500 million. This should be the topic of the day. Amen. Dankani Isudi say ye resign from the trustees of the cathedral. This should be the topic of the day. What you say? Kennedy Extra TV so say Ama Swali Obana ya ne boys enchino mono enko bebia ampa anche bia within 1 month and you born it no. This should be the topic of the day and then kwasi ampani no as sorry chire say me prim ampani akonya Ghana foi mumra me di mechi na me de se me ba me use agriculture e de feed the whole Africa now so be say info sign wo. This should be the topic of the day. This should be the topic of the day. Duncan Williams on the issue on the National Cathedral Sikana USA say there who say enumguasia ya benti otidon omudwane. This should be the topic of the day. Enye na nama yese ne to no koye ye ne yese no fo no ye ne se ne yese wan no fo no efa ho ben ona unum eto no wayo onya yo efa ho ben ona umia. This thing should not be social media topics. Of course, minimum say when you're a public figure, you know, they want some bag Ghana for 1 or 2 be a day, but it should not be main topic whereby a bit diverting attention from the main issues. The main you say Akufo-Addo aban ehye mo say omo ba no John Dramani Mahama de onimu nyansa. John Dramani Mahama de wajimi eno ntina ode Ghana call IMF. Na omo de omo ba no say John Dramani Mahama IMF program no esi anya dia omo de Ghana be come back to IMF omba ye dada mo na ye mfa Ghana nko IMF na ye mfa Ghana nko na we can go to IMF na den anche bia na omo sa ye U10 na say there omo sa de Ghana akoshe IMF for enum. This should be the topic of the day. Ekufuado offer private jet to 14,000 euros per hour. This should be the topic of the day. Cecilia Dapa equipping more than $1 million. Nobody has come out to account for that money. This should be the topic of the day. Cecilia Dapa say or spending $48 million or down and go announce in Soto Nanu ye a farm one cry. This should be the topic of the day. And I'm diamonds. Mu gold, mu hwa nyina no minia yaton agana fo nya hwe free mu. This should be the topic of the day. Toe boot. En kwasi abai we yaba say omo de toilet. Ene jonso dwaye. This should be the topic of the day. Inflation actually dinama in the history of this country. For the first time, inflation could do $1 to 17 Ghana cedis. This should be the topic of the day. Abawe baye on see empo a single chief compound. This should be the topic of the day. Abawe baye on see a single hospital. This should be the topic of the day. Abawe baye on see a single E block. This should be the topic of the day. Aflawo hine ekache Kufuado say E block na John Dramani Mahama sha ase na went me enhwi. Omrame to aso sane be ya Aflawo fo nkwa dance benya baby esua de odi na temo say sabi he is a nobody to give him ultimatums.
Let me just take one, Mr. President. The one in Aflawo where the chief himself has complained. On any one Aflawo patch say e-block no oba yenya hoshe. Inti my education minister up to February say ombe yehu bibi. It's on the say
no minister ultimatum.
This should be the topic of the day. The topic of the day should be say Ekufuado abanya fail youth no bon sorry na mon keke omo out. Enya about say nanama ene yesi nanama ene yeso fa he ene nkosi ene wose he Masa. It doesn't change anything. Nanama ye dan yo of fa he no ye dan yo. It doesn't solve any problem. Muntie eya munya say jimisem na mudi akire no. You guys prefer to feed on nonsense. Huh? You guys prefer to feed on nonsense. You don't feed on real news, on factual news. I bet me abua Ghana puntu. I bet me abua mo life. Mo sorry news are ehun here. News are enfashe mremu. News are added value to your life. And na mudi eche na bloggers make money out of it. Sema stadia na ma hu rumors isha see. Most bloggers could not even wait for 24 hours to do their own investigation to know say asem no krampono eye room wana say it is saying say na asem ni city here omunya te ya ni atwekabra. Why? Because they want to make money on the matter. It's not about say they care about say nana mawari egu enwu. They don't care. Most of the bloggers nana ma ho asem ba ye in less than 24 hours a train camera na ye kan ho asem nanama na wari eguo ejina emfa omo hu. They don't care about nanama. They care about the money they can make out of that news, because they know say it's as a news no air trending omo nya battery camera pe Ghana for be share and they make their money. So the thing they care about is the money they are going to make from the news and not the actual news. They don't care about the person involved in the news. Now so na Ghana for as usual dodo na no sabi yo ya dwin so enya TV bia na dimirika na eje nanamo Masa muntie
o camera ni si wani mu no eden na woka ede acha Ghana for so begina so na wo so enfanto abanama na sambe mampani bio
ense ade ba ko a ye hwe so ede to aba ene gidi a wo ewo nipa no na o hwe a efrimia me ba me politics mo from 2008-2012 2016 me be free aban mo me nipa me de nokre eye adwuma ade a mentimi nya me nkasa meye nya me betimi aye eno na me kasa meye me be ye o mampanyin me say botaye da menim and say I want to improve the infrastructure of this country, because infrastructure no na be ma economy na nyi enti me say me man crofo lights me tunsio me ma nsio me man crofo nyan supano me si school adan me si ayarisa bia me ye akwan ampanso me benya akwanya me yes an yo mani na